Hi everyone, it's Anne here from Positively Papercraft, and I'm back today. Sorry I haven't been around for a few weeks actually. It's just been really busy for me. So what I thought today was would go back to basics, kind of like old school crafting, or even crafting for beginners who maybe don't have a lot of supplies and don't have dies and stuff like that. So what I've done is I've just grabbed a Christmas paper pad. You use whatever you have, whatever you want, okay? This happens to be one from the works, but unfortunately they don't seem to have anything nice anymore. Like, I don't know, it's obviously just the way the world is at the moment, but even our store's closing down, my local works. So I think gone are the days when you can get things like this for £4. So nevertheless, this is what I'm going to use, and I'm just going to basically grab some maybe card, some Miri card, ribbon, foam pad, sticky tape, bits and bobs like that. I'm not going to use dies at all. I don't think I'm going to use any stamps, because this paper pad happens to have this sentiment sheet. Now, if you don't have a paper pad that has one of these, you could print them off on your computer. You could rake around, see if any paper pads have any little sentiments, or you could use a stamp if you do have any. You could even handwrite them if you wanted to. So let's get on with card number 1. All right, so I've got a 6x6 card base that I took. This bit's for the inside, which I just cut, I think, the 5.5 by 5.5. So I took a piece of the paper, I cut it to 5 7/8 square. Then I cut a piece of red card, which is 4 by 5 7/8. That's going to go in the middle. Then I cut a piece of this gold Miri card to 4 by 3 inches. That's going to sit there. And then I took another piece of the patterned paper and I cut it to 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, and I just cut it diagonally. And the idea is this will then sit on here and it will just leave a nice little border for, the patterned paper, so that the little bit of Miri card shows through. And then I want to do something with some ribbon, maybe one of the sentiments out of the pad. So let's get on. Yeah, I've got one, yeah. Merry everything and happy always. And I'll probably just glue this onto a bit of Miri card as well. Honestly, nothing fancy at all. Okay, there we go. That is super quick, super simple, minimal supplies. I think I probably would have cut that a bit smaller just so I had a better gap in the middle, but never mind. Yeah, and I think that's really pretty. So I've got the bit for the middle, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this corner punch. I use this quite a lot. It's really pretty. This is going to be my little inside bit. And then, there's plenty of paper left over. So what you could even do is just to, jazz them up a little bit, make them look a bit nicer. We could even put some paper on the inside. So I might... No, I'm going to put it on this side and then have the little bit in the middle. I know it'll cover most of it over, but actually no, we're going to go for this size. So I'll cut this down to size. Yeah, so I cut it to 5 3/4 square. And this will go in here, just makes it look a bit nicer, sort of ties in with the front paper on the front. And then I've got the bit to write a message, which will go there. And these will do me for next year now, because I've made all my Christmas cards and I've just sent the last ones out. So, but yes, there's always maybe someone you forget to send to. But I think that's very, very pretty, very simple, but you don't need a lot to make it. So let's move on to number 2. Card number 2, I've used another 6x6 card, but we will do different sizes. So what I did again was I've just took the pad and I cut 4 strips to 1 3/8 by 5 7/8. Then I cut a piece of the gold Mary card to 4.5 inches square, a piece of the pattern paper to 4 3/8 of an inch square, and then I cut another sentiment and I cut a little piece of this Mary card to 3/8 by 4 3/8, and that's going to go in the middle, which this little sentiment is going to sort of sit over the top. And then I've cut some bits for the inside, which it was 5 7/8 square, and then the white piece is 5 5/8, and that's going to go inside. So let's get this one done. Another super easy, quick, simple card, which is really pretty. And again, it's just used paper and card. So we'll move on to number 3. All right, so card number 3, this is one I made about 7 years ago now. And I thought, and it just popped up and I thought, let's redo this one. It's really simple, but just something a little bit different. So I've got a piece of card which is 11 3/4 by 6 inches, and then you want to score it in the middle at 5 7/8 on the long side, right? And then you're going to take, so say for example this would be the front of the card. So on the 6-inch side you're going to score, but you're only going to score down to that score line that we've just put in. So we would score at 1/2 inch just to the score line, 1 inch to the score line, and 1.5 to the score line. Then you're going to go in at 4.5 inches, 5, and 5.5. So you're going to have those 3 sort of score lines on each side. And then if you take some scissors, what you're going to do is you're going to cut along those 3 lines that you've scored. Okay, so it's like that. And then the same with the other side. So your card will fold over, and then what we're going to do is we're going to accordion fold these. So it's going to be a valley, and then we're going to go into a mountain, and then a valley, and you'll end up with this. Do the same on the other bit. So a valley, so just keep accordion folding it. And your card sort of stands up like this, but what you do then is, if you've got like a corner punch or something, I think I'm going to use this fancy one again. Will it reach? Yeah. So punch that like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be this kind of punch, it can be any punch. Just a normal corner rounder if that's what you want to use. Get this out the way so I can fold that, get that in, I mean. Okay. And I think it's just a really pretty different little card, and you're going to decorate your little sort of pieces here and just put something down the middle. So what I did was, that paper pad's got little tags, so we're sort of going to have a little tag down ours. But anyway, I've cut 6 pieces for the little panels, which are just under 1/2 inch by just under 5 7/8, and they're going to go in all of our little panels. Have them however you want them. Same on the other side. And then for this bit, I forgot what the width was. Yeah, you're going to need a piece which is about, I would say, maybe it's just under 2 7/8. No, 2 7/8 by 5 7/8. Okay, so, and that's going to be this bit, and then I'm going to glue the tag on. So let me get these glued down and I'll be back. Alright, so that's what I did. I just glued the middle panel, the little skinny pieces I cut, and I really like this actually. So what I did was, as I said, I cut a tag from the paper pad, just put some foam pads on, and I punched a little hole in, excuse me, in the middle. There we go. And then you could even put some more pattern paper inside. You could put another piece on there. It's entirely up to you. But yeah, I like that. That's number 3. So let's move on to another one. Alright, number 4, we're going to make a gatefold card. Again, I think I made one of these quite a long time ago. So I've got a piece of card which is 8 by 5.5 inches, and I'm going to score on the long side at 2 inches and then 6 inches, and that's basically going to make the card. So I'm just going to fold that in like that. So I've got some bits to decorate. I have done some silver mirror card for the mats and layers. So that's going to go here. And then for the outside, I've got 2 pieces of these. So let me quickly stick these down, then I want to show you what else we're going to do as well. Right, so that's how it's looking now. So what I've done is, I'll put all the sizes on the screen for you, but I've cut 3 pieces of white card which all measure the same, and then I've cut 3 pieces of the patterned paper which are just probably 1/8 of an inch smaller, so there's a little white border. Because what we're going to do is we're going to end up gluing one on here. Actually, I think they're a little bit long, so let me trim these down. Yeah, I've trimmed them down actually to 3 3/4 by 1.5, and these are just slightly smaller to allow a border. But before we glue them on, if we grab some scissors, get some scissors, and we're just going to make like a little sort of fishtail type banner. If you have a punch, you could use it, but I do actually, but I don't know where it is. But the idea of this is maybe beginners or people who don't have a lot of supplies, so you can easily make one yourself. And then you want to do the same with your paper, roughly just the same kind of distance as you did it with the card. And then hopefully when we put this on, that should line up pretty well. So you want to do that with all 3 of these, and then if you get some foam tape or foam pad or whatever you want to use. So I've got 3 pieces of foam. So what you're going to do is you're going to close this, and let's just say we'll have this as the first bit. So this is going to go on the top, but we're only going to stick it to this side, okay? So if we put, say, tape on there, all right, and then we're going to glue that, tape that, sorry, onto that bit. Oh, and I didn't realise, but I've glued my paper upside down. Never mind, that one I haven't, but this one I have. And then this one would go on the bottom. Again, you would just put tape there and then glue that on there. No, because we want to actually do this one in the middle, I think. Do you see? So they're like alternating. So you actually want this one on the same side, sorry. So another piece of tape. Yeah, and just say put that there. And then this one will go in the middle, even though my paper's upside down. You get what I mean? So be wary of that. I didn't think of that actually. And then this one, we'll try and stick it as in the middle as we can. There we go. I really like this. So get closes like that. And then what I did was another sentiment. I just laid it with white paper, then mirror card, and this one is just going to sit in the middle one. Or if you wanted to, you could put it inside. It's, you know, it's entirely up to you. but I think I'm going to put mine on the front. Use another bit of this foam tape. Well, it's good actually because it'll hide my paper being upside down, I hope. And there we go. I mean, obviously you can decorate it if you want to decorate more. You can put some paper there, put something in the middle if you do want to use die cuts or whatever. But yeah, that is another really nice card with just card and paper. So let's move on to another one. Okay, so we're back with another, and I think you call this corner fold card. I think it's been around a long time, but again, it's something that you can do, you know, without dies and stuff. So I've got a piece of card which is 7 by 8 1/4. So on the 7-inch side, I'm going to score it at 2 3/4. And then turn it to the 8 1/4 inch side. Is that right? No, sorry. So 7-inch side, yeah, 2 3/4. Then I want to rotate it to the left, and then I want to score again at 2 3/4. And you will end up with this sort of bit here. So we really want to score a line right through where them two meet. So to do that, if you put it back in the scoreboard and put a little mark at 5.5 inches and then turn it to the right, and you want to score, hang on, because that works out differently. You basically want to put another line at 5.5 inches up. Okay, so 5.5. No, that isn't right, is it? 5.5 down. Yeah, that's right. So 5.5. Put a little mark. So yeah, 5.5 here, and 5.5 here. Hope that makes sense. And then you are gonna just score from those two lines, making sure that it's all lined up and you're going through particularly this middle bit. Okay, so the first score lines we put in, you're gonna fold them in a valley, so upwards, and then this one we put in, we're gonna go in a mountain. And then if you grab these two pieces together, so if you just go to push them like this, it should push and form this, and then you can burnish this down. Basically that's the fold of the card, so the rest are just little bits to decorate. So I have got a piece for the inside which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and that would be to write your message or whatever on. And then I've cut 2 pieces of white card, which were 2.5 by 2.5. But then I've just cut some of the patterned paper, obviously a little bit smaller, because that's going to go there. And then when we open it up, we've got another one which is going to go there. So let me stick this on here. Okay, so that's how it's looking. And then again from the paper pad, I've cut another tag. I think I'm gonna, I'm gonna put my tag in the middle, and then if you can also put another bit on the back to write a message, but I don't want it to be as plain. So I'm gonna pop it on with these foam things again. So I cut the most wonderful time, let it snow, let it snow. So I might put let it snow across there. And then we won't get one in there because obviously that will stop it from folding in. But I might put that one there actually, just something a little bit different. But yes, nothing new. It's been around years, but as I said, it's something again that you can create with little supplies, really. That's the whole idea of the video. So yes, there we go. I believe that's number 5. So let's move on to another. Alright, so I think this is number 6, and it's another type of gatefold card. It is similar to this one, but we're going to do 2 big ones of these instead of 3. So the card is the same size, I believe, as that one, 8 by 5.5. So we're going to score at 2 inches and 6 inches. And then just fold that, and the papers and stuff will just be the same size as the previous one we made. So that's our card. So I've cut a bit for the middle, which I've found this sort of sparkly mirror card as well, which I thought would be nice to add on. So let me get this stuck on. And then I've cut 2 pieces. So one's going to go there, one's going to go there. So these measure, I think the 2.5 inches by 3 3/4. And I've got a bit of paper for the front, 3 5/8 by 2 3/8. But I'm going to do a little fishtail as well on these. Okay. Let's get these glued on. Okay, so I've cut another tag, and then you also get these little numbers with the pad. But this one just says Christmas, and this one is Christmas Eve, and I think they make just nice little toppers. So I'm actually just going to probably pop them something like this on the front of here. Let me see how this looks. So we're going to have one glued on to the left, and then I might pop that on there. Then we're going to have this one glued on to the right, and I might have that one there. And then inside I'm going to have a little tag, and you can write your message on the back on the back of the card, I mean. Isn't that so cute? I really like that one, and I just grabbed some little whatchamacallins, little enamel things. And I might put, just for a little bit of sparkle, I'm just going to dot a few of these around. There we go. Again, that's another beautiful card, just made with, you know, the paper pad and the card and a few little bits. So yeah, let's move on to another one. All right, I believe this is number 7. So I've got a piece of red card here, which is 9 by 5.5 inches. So I'm going to score the long side of the card at 2 1/4. And I'm literally just going to rotate it round and score it at 2 1/4 again. Okay, and this is going to be a sort of a gatefold card, but we're going to make it a bit different. So we've done that. And then these 2 pieces here, what we want to do is just take a ruler, and the middle of them would be 2 3/4. So if we just put a little mark, 2 3/4, just on each side. Okay, and then we want to cut to the little mark. I mean, if you want to mark it with a pencil, you can. I'm looking for a pencil and I can't see one, but you could do that if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna eyeball it, I think. Although I'm not, I'm gonna find a pencil. Right, got a pencil. It just makes it more even, you know, so you're not sort of cutting it all over the place, really. Right, and then just cut that with your scissors. So you should have that, basically. I've got a rubber on this. I've got a rubber somewhere, I'll rub them out in a minute. So what I did was I cut a piece of the pattern paper to go inside, and then I've cut, so let's just say that I hadn't cut them. The layering pieces would have been just slightly smaller. So they would have, these, if I hadn't have cut these, there would be, I would have cut the paper to 2 1/8 by probably 5 3/8. So I did that. That's what I've cut them to, and I'm going to mark the middle of them exactly the same and do the same thing with these, so that hopefully they will then fit. So what I might just do is, because it's a bit of an odd measurement now that it's 5 3/8, so I'm just going to kind of nick it in the middle like that, and then just cut up, and hopefully they should fit. Yeah, that's pretty good. Same with this one, just give it a little sort of press in the middle. Okay, so we've got that now, and then also I have cut some card to make a belly band to go around the middle. So this is 9 3/4 by 1.5. Yeah. So I'm going to put it on, but you don't want to pull it too tight because obviously you want it to be able to slip on and off the card. So glue this on. As I said, don't pull it too tight. And then again from the paper pad, I just got one of the little things, cut one of the little things out, and I just backed it onto some mirror card, and that's going to sit on the belly band itself. So we just want a bit of glue in the middle here, so we don't want to glue it to the card. And that's it basically. I mean, if you want to write a message, you could put some card on the back, write it on the back. It's up to you. But again, I think that's another really easy way to make a really pretty card. So that is that number 7 I said? I get so lost off with these videos. There's so many to do. I'm sure it's number 7. Yeah, so let's move on to another. All right, let's do number 8. So I've got a card base here, which is 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. So you could get 2 of these from an A4 piece of card. Now it's going to go this way, the card. So what I've got is I've cut some of the pattern paper again. Now I've made sure that I've cut the paper to 5 5/8 of an inch wide, okay? Both of them. So you can see there's a decent border around. Now, all I'm going to do is get a trimmer here. So I'm going to take the largest one. Now we're not going to alter the width of it at all. So if you think the paper is going to be on this way, so I can turn it and cut it this way now. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in, and there's no particular rhyme or reason. I'm just going to put it in like this on an angle, and I'm going to cut it. Okay. So I'd now have that. And then I'm going to take it this way, and I'm going to cut it maybe like this. So now I would have this for my card. Okay. And then this piece I'm going to have, so again, not going to alter the length of it or the width of it. So this time I'm going to cut maybe a little bit more off here. So I know that it's going to show from there. And then I'm going to cut a decent bit from here. Let's see what that looks like. So I know that I can definitely see both pieces. Okay. So when they're on the card like this, I know I can see them. So what I want to do now is I've got a piece of red card, and I'm going to glue these just on the card again, so there's enough border. And what I'll do is I'll then take just a craft knife and a ruler, and I'll cut round them, because trying to measure these to fit onto the card is just, it's just too much of a faff on, really. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to glue them on the card. I still haven't filled my glue up. So glue them on. Make sure you're leaving that little bit of a border so you can actually see the red card. Just trying to save as much card really as possible. And then I'm just going to take just a knife and a ruler, and all I'm going to do is just cut this card with the knife and ruler, so I know that I've got an even border all the way around. Okay, so I should cut that off, and then just cut the end. So now this piece should fit nicely on there, and we'll cut this piece as well. So now these should fit nicely on our card. I could put this one here, and then we can put a little sentiment from the paper pad again, probably just here, which I'll put under some silver or gold mirror card. And that's just a super easy way to make a pretty Christmas card, just using some paper and card. So that's so easy to do, but it gives a really nice, quite elegant look actually. So let's move on to another one. Okay, let's do number 9. This is sort of like a gatefold again, but it's different. It's kind of on the side. So I've got a piece of card which is 11 3/4 by 5.5. And I am going to score at 1.5 inches. Hang on, get my measurements. Yeah, 1.5, 6.5, and 10.25. And basically, you're going to fold this one up, this one over here, and then this one back, so it kind of creates like this kind of opening. So really easy. So I've cut lots of the patterned paper So for the middle, I've just cut another white piece because we're going to have just this bit in the middle to write a message, but I'm going to use that nice corner punch again. So that one's going to go there. Then I've cut 4 pieces, which are just under 1.5 by just under 5.5. So I'll have them in each side of the skinny bits. Then I've got, try and pick it up, 2 pieces, which I need to get my ruler anyway. So one will go there, the other one will go there, and then we've got our 2 pieces left for that. So let me glue these down and then I can give you the measurements. So make those 3 5/8 by just under 5.5. So I've stuck those down. And then again, I've got one of them from the paper pad, which I'm going to pop it just on there like that. So I just want a foam pad. There we go. There's another really pretty card with using hardly any supplies really at all. So we've got one more. Right, the last one. Obviously making these, I've accumulated a lot of scraps. So what I've done is I've just took some and I've just made a banner on the end of them. And they're not, I don't even know what sizes they are. They're probably roughly between 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch wide. And in terms of length, let me see. They're looking around 6 inches in length. So I've got a 6x6 card, and literally all I'm going to do is just start positioning them on, not really in any particular way, just see if I put them there, and then I'm just going to come along with these ones and probably just like interweave them type of thing. I'll have to change that one because that is the same. And then, no, that'll have to be, oh no, I can turn it this way. Just see what I mean? And then, I mean, that's really going to be it. It's just going to be dead simple, but I'm going to sort of keep them in the corner. And that is literally all I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to glue this down, and that is going to be it. But I think it's actually really nice. Simple, but nice. The red and the white go obviously stand out, don't they? So that's what I'm going to do. And then again, I've cut a little sentiment from the pad. Special delivery from the North Pole. Probably just put that there. Although I don't know, I might put it on one of them. But I'm just going to get my glue because I don't want to sort of mess them up. I'm just going to start sticking them down. You know, so let's have a look at what we've made. See if we can fit them on. That's really nice. And as I said in the beginning, you don't have to make these as Christmas cards. You could do the same idea but make them any kind of occasion. So yeah, there we go. Love this one. This one, really like this one as well. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I probably won't be around till after Christmas now, but I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a lovely Happy New Year. And let's look forward to 2026. I'm going to do some work on my channel over Christmas, possibly just changing a few things, revamping it maybe, working on some videos for the new year, stuff like that. We'll get back to doing the Saturday night lives as well. I've had a few people saying that they miss them and am I going to do them again? So yeah, get something planned for that. So yes, have a lovely Christmas everybody. Take care and bye for now.